Welcome to this edition of the Museum Roadshow. I'm Roger Engstrom. Today we're out here at KDLM north on Richwood Road, where we're sitting in the little 30 by 50 block building that was built in the third week of July in 1951 when construction started on the high spot out here in the slough. The actual application for this started in December of 1950 when the DL Broadcasting Company put in an application to the Federal Communications Commission to build a radio station in Detroit Lakes. Permission was granted, and in May of '51, and construction started in July with the lofty goal of having this station on air by September, but they didn't quite make it. First day of broadcasting from this building was October 1st, 1951. The radio signal was going out from a 205-foot tower. At that time, the range was about 30 miles, and they figured that they could reach about 75 to 100,000 people annually with this radio station.
KDLM was started by Brown Institute owner, and his name was Dr. Brown. And he was a good radio man, and he had a good manager in here. His name escapes me right now, and I'll remember it later, of course. But he had an infant son drown, and after about a year and a half up here, and he left. And they never did get a replacement, and there was a subsequent buyer, and just really didn't have the know-how or the desire to make it better. And it was in disrepair when my owners bought it, and they knew that. When we came to Detroit Lakes, it was a desperate situation. That's why I was there. They needed a salesman, they needed a manager, and they didn't even have toilet paper. Dave Knudsen, who was a sales manager there, was bringing toilet paper. He was bringing light bulbs from home. And that day that I got there, he spent 48 cents out of his own pocket to send out billings by mail that he couldn't reach to and deliver them in person. So, I mean, they had billed like $2,800 that first month of February, or January, I should say. And I started on the 1st of February, 1958. And it was pretty desperate around there. When I was brought to Detroit Lakes, the deal was that at the end of 3 years, if I had it in the black and profitable, they would sell me 20% at the go-in price. And fortunately, I had a great salesman in Dave Knudsen, good ally. We managed to have it comfortably in the black and after 3 years. And I was able to purchase 20% at the go-in price. It was 1961. The music programming was trying to reach all people, and I was fortunate to have a fellow with me that had been in broadcast at South Bend, Indiana, and had some programming experience. His name was Bob Barker, and some people might remember that name. And he helped organize a news program that was 7 to 7:30 and 12 to 12:45 at noon. And it was a good program where he had news, sports, and weather, and some agricultural news. And it was spread out through a 45-minute segment. Hodgepodge was one of the innovations that we had, and Hodgepodge was originally started from Dave's idea, Dave Knudsen's idea, and Norma Sandin was the hostess on it. Just did a great job. And I mean, she was pure amateur because she was our typist and graphic manager. Never been on the air, but just did a wonderful job.
Our studio was across the hall, and our Hodgepodge studio was a very small room, and she had a window looking right into the control room. And her program was on about the same time it is now, 8:30 in the morning, and she'd bring in guests. At that time, we used to do a lot of telephone calls, and Norma had her list of people who would call in and have some questions and comments. And whenever Norma had a problem, she would always yell over the air, "Andy! Andy!" And I would have to help her out. She also did Norma's news and notes, and she did all the bookkeeping here at KDLM. Kind of kept the whole show running, kept Dave Knudsen and Al Layton in line, and made sure they were where they were supposed to be. So just a great person here and a vital part of KDLM.
And today Hodgepodge is still running as great as ever, because we have another hometowner in Carol McCarthy, and we lucked out again. She's just doing a super job for us.
KDLM, a favorite memory of mine, occurred in, I think it was 1971, when my brother was discharged from the Marines, and he was coming home with a 63 Chevy he was driving, and he got just north of Fergus Falls a ways, and on 59 he started fumbling with the radio, and KDLM came in loud and clear, and as KDLM came in loud and clear, his confirmation pastor, Reverend Elmer Johnson, was reading off the evening devotion for that day. I thought that was quite fitting, that my brother had been away from home there for about 6 months, and now he was listening to his pastor coming home and reading him as he came home from the military.
I want to say that we spent 17 years in Detroit Lakes, and I value them as probably the best years of my life, because we raised our family of 9 children for the majority of the time, and I was on the road a lot, and Dave Knudsen was Mr. KDLM, so I give him full credit for the success that we had in Detroit Lakes, and he was honored for that just in the past year by being named to the Hall of Fame for his record as a manager and part owner of a radio station, which he well deserved. He did just a tremendous job, and it allowed me to go out, and we bought 3 stations in Iowa and a couple more in Minnesota. Ending up at one time we had 13 radio stations. We still have 11 and cable TV3 presently, but I owe it all to our start in Detroit Lakes, because that was our basis and our basic home. People make you in this business, and I was fortunate that I was able to hire people better than myself. Believe me, that wasn't hard to do, but I did have good people, and Dave was just an example of one of those. And I had a lot more, and as a team, when you spell team, there's no I in it. So I really mean it. We just had a good crew that was ambitious, loved the business, never looked back. They always looked forward.